Hi there. A question that we get as birth injury lawyers a lot are, how do we prove the damage to the brain and when it actually happened and how bad it actually is? And one of the ways that we do that is through MRIs. An MRI is a machine that scans the brain of a baby and actually shows us inside what type of injuries the baby has to the brain tissue. Different areas of the brain can get affected in different ways depending on the lack of oxygen that occurred during labor and delivery. For example, if we see an injury to a part of the brain called the basal ganglia, then we know that was a sudden drop in oxygen that occurred and it caused the basal ganglia to lose its tissue and actually die off, causing brain damage. However, on the other hand, if we see what's called watershed injuries, watershed zones are areas in between the blood vessels that are bringing blood into the brain. Next to those blood vessels are what we call watershed. Think of the blood vessels as rivers and the watershed areas as the banks of the rivers. If there is a prolonged oxygen deprivation, you're going to see areas of the watershed be damaged, and therefore the longer the oxygen is not actually getting to those areas, the longer the watershed areas get damaged. So we can use MRIs in one particular way to time the brain injuries. However, MRIs are not the only piece of evidence that we need to use. We have to take the fetal heart monitoring strip, the nurse's progression notes, and we use them all together in conjunction to come up with an idea of exactly what happened during labor and delivery so that we can prove the timing of everything and the cause. Regardless of the fact, if your child has cerebral palsy, for example, and you want your MRI to be evaluated, I think it's extremely important to do so with a birth injury lawyer so that you know exactly the timing of everything so that we can then link and see whether this happened during labor and delivery or whether this is something that was inevitable to happen, unfortunately, due to the complications of pregnancy. My name is Adam Funk. I am a birth injury lawyer. I'd be happy to talk to you about your potential case and the MRI findings of your baby. Just call us, text us, or email us, and we can schedule a call between you and I.